only thing we have to fear is
in war.
fear itself.
There is no substitute for victory.
Let us never negotiate out of fear.
We stand undivided, forever united, fighting hand in hand for the liberty we've earned, for glory and honor, for our sons and daughters, ever mindful of the lessons we've learned. Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome to the intersection of faith and politics. This is WallBuilders Live. Thanks for joining us today. Be sure and visit our websites today, wallbuilders.com and wallbuilderslive.com. You definitely want to visit today because we're going to have links to all the great programs we're going to talk about on the program today. We got special guests for you to share some of those programs. Guys, it's an exciting summer coming up. If you want to raise kids that become champions for Christ, it doesn't happen by accident. You got to get them around some good folks and sow some good seeds.
Yeah, and that's always been the key for the longevity of any nation is what you do to train the future generation. And since summer's coming up, and that's when, folks are generally out of school and have more time, that's when more training programs happen, we thought now would be a great time to kind of get this on folks' radar screen, get it in their thinking, let them be able to plan for some things this summer, because we're going to talk about 3 really good opportunities today for kids.
Well, and it's an opportunity even for kids to have a moment when if they're thinking about they want to go to something, and by the way, parents, if it's something you're thinking my kids need to go to that, well, I was a youth pastor for 10 years, and anytime we did a program we're bringing kids along, if somebody said, I can't afford it, then I said, okay, I'm going to help you find a way to afford it. I'm going to find yards for you to mow or houses for you to clean. We're going to find something to do, and so maybe it's another great moment for your kids to...
Just definitely don't shovel snow up in New England, though.
Well, that'll get you put in jail, but...
By the way, for those that don't know, in that recent thing, there were some kids out there saying, hey, we'll shovel snow, you just pay us whatever you think it's worth. Cops came by and said you can't do that unless you put a $450 license in. And once you get a license, then we'll let you shovel snow.
Yeah, kind of the same thing with the lemonade stands. Get a $10,000 city certificate that says you can have a business. Yeah, so we're not around that. But we want to help kids learn the right kind of lessons. And so learning to earn your way where mom and dad are not government providing for you, right? But you can go and be productive. However, one of the things that we do know is as we are focusing on our nation and we want to see our nation turned around, if we don't reach the next generation, it doesn't matter what the current generation does, because if we don't hand it off to someone that's ready to take the ball and run with it, then all that we are fighting for will come to no avail if we cannot reach the hearts of the next generation.
One of the common themes we hear with all the programs we're going to talk about today is life-changing experiences. The first program we're going to talk about today, my own son had a life-changing experience there at High Point. You Bartons have been involved with it for years, and the guy that's running it is with us today. David Pate, welcome on the program.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here.
Hey, man, we appreciate all the good work you guys do up there in Arkansas and all the lives that are changed, thousands of kids that have been impacted in a tremendous way. Tell us a little bit, and you do multiple programs. The one my son went to was a high school age programs, but you guys target all age groups, right?
Absolutely. We have 2 summer camps. One is Brookhill Ranch Summer Camp, and the target audience for that is 3rd grade up through the 9th grade.
Those camps all last 1 week, right? Those are 1-week camps, and you got, 8 of them over the summer?
Absolutely. With Brookhill, we have 8 different sessions that are all throughout June and July.
So if you can't go on a particular week, there's plenty of other options.
Plenty.
And I will tell you, parents, this is a fun camp. This is not one run by the attorneys. This is one run by real people. Kids can actually shoot guns here and ride go-karts, and they can do jet skis, and they can do all sorts of stuff that, schools are not even letting kids have seesaws or swing sets anymore because too many attorneys are involved. So this is a real camp with real stuff and real fun stuff, and it's real cool.
David, sounds like you guys balance it. I mean, the kids get to have a great time. They want to come back, but it's not, just dropping your kid off to have fun. Again, life-changing experiences. You guys address the spiritual as well.
Absolutely. Brookhill is, our theme is how to have fun being a Christian. So we use the go-karts and the horseback riding and the swimming area as a tool for obviously kids to have a blast. And with 20 activities, there's just so much for them to do all the time. But what separates us are our counselors. All of our counselors are homegrown. And they're there, obviously, to watch over and make sure the kids have an incredible time, but they're also in the back of their mind looking to disciple these young people through all throughout different lessons throughout the day, whether it be a devotion in the morning or just connecting. I mean, every boy and girl in our culture today is starving for love and attention. And our counselors aren't there to draw a paycheck. They are there to connect with these young people and make sure they have an incredible time.
Well, the only problem with your counselors, I think you've had a few with the last name Barton over the years, haven't you? That might be bad for the reputation.
We did have a couple of years where we just didn't have that many people apply, but since then, that problem hadn't come up again.
Okay, good. Well, tell us how, if a parent is interested, what's the best way for them to find out more in terms of schedules, costs, when to go, that sort of thing?
They need to go on BrookhillRanch.com. They can go online. You can register online. All the information is online. It's at BrookhillRanch.com. And then they can go there and get all the information that they need about our summer camp. We're over 50 years old, and so that's really exciting for us, just to see what God has done. This last summer, we had 3 different campers that were third generation, where their grandparents, their parents, and now their grandkids are there. So
wow,
it's exciting.
Hey Tim, before we go to High Point, you and your brother and sister did grow up going to this camp. Give us a little personal experience. I mean, how important was it to you?
It was very significant in me determining that I wanted to serve the Lord my whole life. One of the things that God really convicted me when I was there my freshman year, I was a graduate there at Brookhill, and it was going to be my last year. And I was really convicted that my life, I had worked very hard not to do the wrong thing, but it was a real revelation when I realized there's a difference between not being bad and actually being the light of the world. And I was so challenged that I needed to let my faith become evident. I needed to impact and influence those around me. And it really put a passion in my heart that I really wanted to serve the Lord. And actually, that was the reason I went back and I wanted to be a counselor, because I wanted to encourage kids the same way. And I wanted to love on kids the way that I had counselors encourage and love on me and build me up. And so really, I mean, it's something that my kids will one day go to, and I hope, they're my grandkids. I mean, it was incredibly impactful. And actually, David and I met at camp, and we were good friends and kind of grew up through the system. And we've talked about it many times, kind of transitioning to High Point. High Point's coming to the 10th year. But one of the things that was very prominent with Brookhill is Brookhill helped kids learn to have fun as a Christian, but also to love Jesus. But as we've seen so much in culture, it's different loving Jesus and actually sometimes knowing how to live for Jesus, how to serve God. And that's really kind of the origination of High Point is we wanted to help kids know how to live life as a Christian. So now we have them loving Jesus. Now let's learn how to live life as a Christian. And that was really kind of the birth of High Point 10 years ago.
And one thing I'll throw in on that, Tim, is one of the unique things about what they do at Brookhill is these kids that are from 9th grade down through 3rd grade all stay in the same bunks together. Now, there may be 20, 30 kids in a bunk, but it's not the thing that you get so commonly now where the 9th graders laugh at 3rd graders, know they're a bunch of dumb kids. It's more like a family. It's like the older kids helping take care of the younger kids, like it used to be in a one-room schoolhouse where you had all the kids together. They all grew up together. They all learned together. They all had responsibilities together, and it helped all of them. It helped the older ones become teachers. It helped the younger ones look up to the older ones and for mentoring. And so it really is a wholesome atmosphere in a very genuine sense, and that you don't have 9th grade over in this bunkhouse and 8th graders in this one, 7th, that you got them all together, which is the way a family works. It's the way the world works, the way a community works. It's everything except our public school system works that way. They're into the forced compartmentalization of kids, but that's just not the way real life goes.
Let's talk about High Point real quick. Buzzword last few years, worldview. I mean, these are now 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds that are really figuring out, okay, what do I want to do with my life? What's my purpose in life? And that week at High Point, man, I mean, the stories that come out of that where these young people have these real encounters with God and encounters with finding their own purpose. Tell us a little bit about how important it is to get the right worldview into them at that age.
Well, it's so key, and 2 reasons that we started High Point was statistically, and you guys are always all over the statistics, we saw 2 trends with Christian young people. These were Christians. Is number one, they are followers and not leaders. They would serve the Lord silently, or number 2, they just didn't have a biblical worldview. We're seeing young people who label themselves as Christians but don't think they have to know the Bible. So when you looked at statistics, Christian young people in their schools were lying just as often as non-Christian young people. They were stealing, they were cheating in school, and by the way, cheating on tests is no big deal to Christian young people. I mean, we'd be in audiences of all Christians, and you would ask them, "Have you cheated in school?" And you'd have everybody raise their hands. And this was where they didn't have a biblical worldview. And so we spend each and every day with different sessions on different topics, from character and integrity to who Jesus was, to economics from a biblical perspective, to abortion, homosexuality, music, movies, entertainment. I mean, we cover these topics, and we asked one simple question: what does the Word of God say? And so that is our focus from High Point for these 15 to 19-year-olds, all the way from Monday to Saturday.
And you guys even cover relationships. What do you need to be looking for in a spouse as you get older? I mean, y'all hit it all. They really come out of there prepared for those major decisions coming up in their life.
Absolutely.
Well, and High Point, same different website, or do they go to the same website?
You can link it through brookhillranch.com, but there is a separate website, hpoint.org.
And this one, you have how many of those a week?
We have
a summer, sorry.
2 sessions of summer. It's the last 2 weeks of June.
Last 2 weeks of June, and age on High Point?
It's 15 to 19 years old.
Awesome. Well, man, I want to tell you, David, you had a huge impact, you and Tim both, on my son, and I've heard so many great stories of other students as well. Can't encourage our audience enough. Parents and a lot of young people that listen to us, you don't want to miss this. Get on that website today. We're going to have links today at wallbuilderslive.com. There's plenty of options for time in the summer to be able to go. And just like David and Tim were saying earlier, if money's an issue, find ways to get out there and mow lawns and find ways to get there. You just can't miss this. This is life-changing experiences that are so important to the development of your son or daughter. All of the links will be at our website today, but David, give them to us one more time.
hpoint.org and brookhillranch.com.
hpoint.org and Brookhill. All right, so both of those will be at our website today. David, Pate, God bless you, man. Keep up the great work and have a great summer with all these young people.
Thank you so much. We're looking forward to it.
Going to take a quick break. We'll be right back on WallBuilders Live.
This is David Barton with another moment from America's history. Revisions today often assert that our founding fathers were atheists or agnostics or deists. This charge is not new. In fact, Patrick Henry was even called a deist in his lifetime. Clearly, no one could question his patriotism, but Henry was hurt that they would question his Christianity. Against the charge that he was a deist, Patrick Henry thundered, "Deism, with me, is but another name for vice and depravity. I hear it is said by the deists that I am one of their number, and indeed that some good people think I am no Christian. This thought gives me much more pain than being called a traitor. Being a Christian is a character which I prize far above all this world has or can boast." Patrick Henry was quick to refute the charge of deism and to declare his open belief as a Christian.
For more information on God's hand in American history, contact WallBuilders at 1-800-8-REBUILD.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome back to WallBuilders Live. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Rick Green here with David Barton and Tim Barton. Guys, we're talking about youth programs this summer, the opportunity to get your son or daughter having a great experience and actually also getting a great encounter with God and with finding their purpose and developing their worldview. Talked about Brookhill Ranch and High Point all the way from third grade all the way up through 18 years old. Just great opportunities there. We also have a program called Patriot Academy. That's a youth leadership program for kind of that next age range, 16 up to 25, that takes place in state capitals across the country. You guys helped me start this 12 years ago. Would have never happened without WallBuilders. And now we're in about 5 states, I guess, across the country. And it's a great opportunity to take that worldview that you've been learning and actually apply it to the issues of the day. Both of you guys speak at this across the country. What's been your kind of, I guess, reaction to the caliber of students and the hope for the next generation that we've got some leaders going into business and politics and journalism and all these different areas?
Well, Rick, it has been really cool to watch how the students, the young people that have grown up in Patriot Academy have taken that torch and that flame, and they've gotten involved, and they're working literally on congressmen's campaigns, and they're working in the office, and we have people in D.C., and I mean, it really is impressive. As much as we encourage people, we have to reach the next generation. One of the things that's important which, Brookhill and High Point, that so much of this just builds on each other. Go to Brookhill, learn to love Jesus, and go to High Point and learn how to live as a Christian, and then come to Patriot Academy and learn how to live as a responsible American citizen. And ultimately, it's all about the process. And so helping young people understand the process, it's so common that people in culture and in America, we get very frustrated with the political process, and we are very upset by things that we see. And quite often, we don't understand the process well enough to know how to get involved and make a difference. And so having something like Patriot Academy where young people can come and they learn how to get involved and make a difference, but also then the ideology, the philosophy that you are working to impart, for them to know that the reason we are doing this is to have that spiritual impact, to have bring biblical values back to what we do, and really even restoring a constitutional heritage. It's been really impressive to see that the growth and development, and after 12 years, even to see some of the fruit it's produced and still going strong, growing in states. It's just been really neat to be a part of.
It really, the fruit of that, getting to see these students now, and they're actually, students elected to the legislature and running parties and, like you said, serving on campaigns. And you go to some state capitals and you walk down a hallway, and every other office now has a Patriot Academy grad in there working for that state rep or is that state rep. So it is kind of cool to see that. More importantly, that they're doing it with the right values and the right mindset. We don't, we tackle the tough issues at Patriot Academy. So that some of these things where they've been lied to by the culture to really get away from a founding fathers philosophy, we go in and say, wait, let's get back to the basics. Let's get back to what makes sense. What does the Bible say about this? What did the founding fathers, what does the Constitution say about it? And give them that foundation. So they're not only effective at either getting elected or helping other people get elected, but once they get there, they've got the right convictions and right mindset.
Well, two of the things that I really like about what happens is, one is there's a lot of apologetics involved. Now, I remember specifically, because you take the kids, as Tim said, through the process. They learn the process, the legislative process, how it works. What if you have something you want to move forward, if you have an issue, how do you do that? And you have to go through the committee hearings, and you have to get all the people on your side. First, you got to get the chairman on your side, then committee members, and you get it out on the floor, and you got to get them. So you go through the whole process of how something becomes policy, and it's not just as simple as sending 1,000 petitions to U.S. Congress, and now they'll pass a law. And there's a process involved, and that process is very old. We've talked before how that even in the U.S. Senate, there are 16 rules that guide the U.S. Senate today that were written by Thomas Jefferson by 1800, when he was president of the Senate from 1797 to 1800. So the Senate is still run by rules that are 200 years old, and if you don't know the process, you will not get the outcome. So one is that the process aspect is really good for them, but the apologetics, because I know oftentimes bring in legislators who have actually dealt with our issues on the floor, and they know what gets thrown at them from the other side. And I remember watching some of the kids in one of the sessions where they were doing back, 4 or 5 years ago when the marriage amendment's really popular, they were doing a marriage amendment. Well, what happened was some of the legislators out of the state legislature who'd actually done the marriage amendment took the other side and attacked the kids with everything that they got attacked with. And these kids are like, and it was really good for the kids to have to go through the apologetics. And so that aspect of knowing why they believe what they believe, not just what they believe. They got a certain set of values, but that doesn't turn it into policy. Why you believe what you believe is really key. And going back, we talk about process on the program a lot, but you remember when you were in the legislature, the guy that was the most influential in the legislature wasn't the guy that was the most flamboyant. It's the guy who knew the rules the best.
That's right.
He was the one that could kill the bad stuff and get the good stuff moving forward. And even if the good stuff got derailed, he knew ways to get it back on track. And that process aspect and the apologetics aspect is so key for what happens, because you are training now leaders who can use a system to really get influence and get results.
And speaking of leaders, just so the listeners know, it's not just students that want to be in politics that go to this. If they want to be in business, they want to go into journalism, They want to go into education. It's really about leadership. And as Tim, you said earlier, just being a good citizen, learning how to be an effective, good citizen from wherever you are. It's now available all over the country. We used to make everybody come to Texas because Texas is, it's like Mecca. Everybody should have to come to Texas at least once in their life. But anyway, now we're doing it across the country. In the Northwest, we'll be in Idaho in June. In the Southwest, we'll be in Arizona in early July. Then we do have our Texas program in July. Then we head out to the Northeast at the Delaware Capitol. And we're going to be in Florida for the Southeast later in the year. So hit patriotacademy.com. You can find out more about the dates and the cost and how to get there and how to apply. We'd love to have your students there or young listeners that are listening, 16 up to 25, that can come and serve as legislators at Patriot Academy. And then if you're over 25 and you want to be part of it, we have what we call the Citizen Track. That one's only in Texas at the end of July, but you get to come spend the week with us as well, and you learn how to influence legislation, and you serve as a lobbyist throughout the week. So everybody's invited. We'd love to have you a part of it. PatriotAcademy.com. Going to take a quick break. We'll be right back here on WallBuilders Live. Have you ever wanted to learn more about the United States Constitution, but just felt like, man, the classes are boring, or it's just that old language from 200 years ago, or I don't know where to start? People want to know, but it gets frustrating because you don't know where to look for truth about the Constitution either. Well, we've got a special program for you available now called Constitution Alive with David Barton and Rick Green, and it's actually a teaching done on the Constitution at Independence Hall in the very room where the Constitution was framed. We take you both to Philadelphia, the cradle of liberty in Independence Hall, and to the WallBuilders Library, where David Barton brings the history to life to teach the original intent of our founding fathers. We call it the Quick Start Guide to the Constitution because in just a few hours through these videos, you will learn the Citizen's Guide to America's Constitution. You'll learn what you need to do to help save our constitutional republic. It's fun, it's entertaining, and it's going to inspire you to do your part to preserve freedom for future generations. It's called Constitution Alive with David Barton and Rick Green. You can find out more information on our website now at wallbuilders.com.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on WallBuilders Live. I'm Rick Green here with Tim Barton and David Barton. Guys, we've been talking about programs for the summer where young people can get prepared for life and have these great experiences. Now let's talk a little bit about applying all of that training that they get. WallBuilders has a great program for actually bringing these folks into the office and actually giving them a chance to live out impacting the culture right there at WallBuilders.
We do. And Rick, let me back up just for a second. As we travel and speak so often, and we encourage people with the truth of our nation's history and the godly heritage and the constitutional foundation that we have, I am so often approached by people that want to know how they can get involved, how they can make a difference. And your adult track, your citizen track at Patriot Academy is a great way for an adult who wants to take a week and come and learn the process. We often talk about how you need to get involved in your community. And if everybody, kind of the story of Nehemiah, if everybody takes care of their own community, then we can see this nation turned around real quick. Well, part of it's knowing how to do that. And so for adults who are going, I want to know how to do, well, Patriot Academy is a great place to look. But back to WallBuilders, we also do a 2-week intern training program, and ours is more of a training program than a genuine internship. When students come in, we actually have all kinds of specialized teaching and instruction. We have lectures, and so really we are trying to inundate them with so much of the information that we have, and it's for 18 to 25-year-olds. And so ideally we're looking for kids that have just graduated from high school, that are going into college, or maybe kids that have just finished college and they're getting ready to go career, or they're going to maybe go to grad school. But for 18 to 25-year-olds is kind of where we have blocked off what we do, and we bring them in for 2 weeks. And for 2 weeks, we really just go through all kinds of things with American history. We track a biblical worldview, and we look at the truth in history, and we address a lot of the critics and the attacks and where they're coming from. And so really we're trying to help people learn to think the right way about the Bible, about history. And we do so many hands-on projects where we often talk about the resources we have of over 100,000 documents that predate 1812. And these interns, every afternoon, we get to go down and do research in the library. And so they actually get to use a lot of these original documents in their research. And we
they're actually getting to see and touch the real thing. This isn't like when I was 18 and I went and interned at a law office thinking I wanted to practice law, and I was just filing papers. You're talking they're down there in the real library. They're actually getting to touch these George Washington and all kinds of other founding fathers documents and see the originals.
That's exactly right. Every morning we set it up and we start with devotions, and then we have lectures and discussion for most of the morning. We'll have topics and we'll go through and we'll look at things. And then every afternoon I give them a research project, and it's topical, and I have a list of things that we're trying to accomplish. And so for 2 weeks, we're just covering the truth of America's history and the biblical worldview. And the goal is that when students leave, I want them to be able to go back to their colleges or whatever it is they're pursuing if they finish college and have a foundation to stand on. I frequently get emails from kids that have come and interned with us, and they'll tell me some of the things that they hear their professor say in college. And they say, this is great because I know exactly what to tell this professor. And it's really fun being able to have that connection. And I'll often get emails and say, okay, my professor said this. What can I do and how can I do it? And having that relationship and that connection, we're able to help them through the process of knowing how to discover what is truth. Because ultimately we want to believe what's true. And if it's not true, we don't want to believe it. And so if at some point in what we are doing, we find out that we're wrong on an area, we're going to change that because we always want to promote truth and we want to believe what truth is. And so it's a really great connection for these college kids to come or someone that's just graduated high school and hands-on experience with history, unlike anything else, much more than just a classroom setting, but walking through step-by-step a process for 2 weeks, nonstop, just as hard as we can go, getting as much information in for 2 weeks of this stuff.
And actually being part of making a difference. I mean, you want to spend your summer and it matter, come to WallBuilders and spend 2 weeks working on projects that are going to impact the culture and impact the future.
And we actually have multiple sessions, too. It's 2 weeks long, but there are multiple sessions that folks can get into.
We have one in June, which is June the 1st to the 12th, and then we have one in July, which is July 13th through 24th. This is a limited availability opportunity. It's really first come, first serve, and so we would love for you to be a part, but we do have limited space. If people want to come, they can email at interns@wallbuilders.com. Again, that's interns@wallbuilders.com. We can get them more information, but it's a great way for us to get plugged in and know the truth of our history.
Check out wallbuilderslive.com today, folks. We'll have links on all of these. Brookhill, High Point, Patriot Academy, and being able to intern at WallBuilders. It's going to be a great summer. Be a part of it. Be a part of making a difference and passing that torch to the next generation. Thanks for listening today. You've been listening to WallBuilders Live.
Stand under